guys, it's Jason from BodyWorx Physio. Wanted to do a quick video because I've had a few patients ask about my views on private health insurance. And you've probably seen a lot in the media recently. There's been a number of big private health insurance companies that have basically just had slaps on the wrist for things like, declining pre-existing medical injuries and that for like 7,000 of their members. Despite them needing to have that reviewed by a doctor, but they only had admin people reviewing it. There's been a number of the bigger names that have been called into question recently. And also the premiums are going up. So a lot of people are asking, is it worthwhile being in private health? And look, there is definitely fors and against for it. I myself am in private health. And my own personal thought is usually I would always maintain private health insurance for hospital cover at least. So what are the fors for private health insurance, I guess, to start with? Now, number one, I would say is surgery access. We have an amazing healthcare system here in Australia. Like, our public health system is brilliant. We have great doctors, nurses, whole teams within the public healthcare system that will really look after you whenever there is an emergency, or whether you have a serious medical condition. We have some of the best medical professionals and the best system in the world that gives equal access to everyone. However, there is what we call elective surgeries. Now, there's a big range of what is counted as an elective surgery. So, for example, knee and hip replacements, even if you're struggling to walk and in a fair bit of pain, are technically elective because they're not life-ending. So you can be waiting a number of years on a waiting list, despite a lack of mobility, to get those surgeries done under the public health system. And you're not guaranteed that you can be with a doctor that you feel comfortable with or that you want to see. The same goes for, in a younger population, ACL surgery. So when you see the footballers do their ACL surgery, ligament in their knee, so their anterior cruciate ligament. Now the problem with this is, you could go and theoretically pay $9,000 to $12,000 to have that surgery done by a private specialist instead of waiting the 12 months to 2 years to get access under the public system. However, the problem that we have with a lot of the hospitals now is the private hospitals don't like you going in under that private paying arrangement unless you have the private insurance, because it can mean that if something goes wrong and you get stuck in being looked after in the hospital for more than just your day surgery, you could be up for $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 worth of expenses, possibly more depending on how bad it is. Now, generally speaking, surgeries go great, and that's not a problem. But we do have to bear in mind that sometimes things do go wrong, and that's why they're trying to protect themselves, and I guess to an extent protecting their patients, to make sure that they're able to look after themselves financially after that surgery if something did go wrong. So it is understandable why they do that. So the big positive of private health insurance is being able to, number one, pick your surgeon that you want to go under, being able to get it done much earlier than you would be able to under the public system. And then you do get a little bit of a different experience when you're going into a private hospital generally compared to a public system, purely because they're designed to make profit and money, so they aim the experience at a higher level. So you usually will be able to have your own room, and you won't be in there with 4 other people or something. The other thing you get is your extras support. So extras is great. That's physio. It definitely helps when you get a couple $100 a year, but you will always generally have a gap. So you're always going to be paying something a little bit for your extras. But for things like your physio, your dental, your optical, it means if you get those as part of your plan, use them. Make sure you are getting the best out of your health cover. So look at all the ways that you can spend your premium and make sure that you get that value out of it. Because realistically, it's an insurance premium. And we don't expect to get everything back from our premium when we insure our house, but people often think that they're going to get the full amount they're paying into their insurance premium back. It doesn't work like that, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to cover everyone. However, it does mean if you're sore, go in and see your physio or get a massage. If you need glasses, get your glasses updated every year so that you can see properly and it protects your eyes. Get your teeth checked every 6 to 12 months. dental hygiene is so important long-term for our longevity. We know that dental cavities have a direct relationship between development of heart disease. So why would you not look after that? So those are the big things for private health. And I mean, I'm not even going to bother with any of the tax stuff and, if you earn a certain amount. That's besides the point. I'm purely looking at from a health and lifestyle perspective why private health insurance is good. Even though I grew up in the country and we had no private hospital near us, my parents always maintained private health insurance just for hospital, and that's what I would always plan on doing. So I would always say it's good to have hospital and ambulance because they can cost a little bit. Bear in mind, with your hospital cover, check what it includes. And this is by no means an exhaustive list of things to check, but do check what it includes. So I, for example, was previously on a plan with a major provider that everyone probably knows, who used to be a member zone and is now a for-profit company. And I thought as a young, fit, healthy person, I was covered for shoulder and knee stuff, until I looked at the fine print of my policy and noticed that I was covered only as a private patient in a public hospital, only for investigations. So they could go in with a little arthroscope and have a look if I've stuffed my knee or my shoulder, but they couldn't actually do anything. So I was covered for that, tonsillitis and appendicitis. But once again, only as a private patient in a public hospital, which does guarantee you basically nothing. Especially with the changes now, you may even end up with a gap for being a private patient in a public hospital, even though you're in the exact same bed you would have been in if you admitted yourself as a public patient. So do bear in mind to check your policies. It's often younger people that are affected by those type of policies because the health funds go out to try and get in that younger cohort where they're less likely to need major surgeries. But it means if you do have a sports accident or that, you want to be covered to make sure you can get access to the proper services if you're paying those premiums. Especially when I switched over to a different fund, which gave me higher levels of extras for my dentist and that, because I wanted to get some dentist work done on my teeth. And it also gave me full surgery cover for knee, shoulder, back, everything, except for open cardiothoracic surgery and open brain surgery, which they're major surgeries, and the reality of it is most of those major life-threatening ones are done in the public system anyway. So just check that. So what are the things against health funds? Check what's not included, just as I said, because there can be a lot of things that they seem like they're included, but in the fine print, it's not included. Bear in mind, they don't cover everything. So people come in and they say, oh, I'll just get that knee brace and it'll be covered by my health fund. A lot of those aren't covered by your health funds. So we always try and recommend whether it's braces, orthotics, like the custom-made ones that we do. Please check with your health fund first before buying things, because we can't do anything. We also can't quote for you. So we get quite a few patients that come in and think we can swipe your health fund card and be able to give you a quote. Now, the health funds don't allow us to do that anymore. And because there's such a range of health funds and a range of policies, even when you got your card with us and you tell us which health fund you're with, we often can't tell you exactly how much you're going to get back from our services because it varies so much for every person and every policy. And that's not even including what we call the grandfathered policies, from some of the health funds that no longer offer those anymore. So there's such a wide range out there. Have a look at how you use your card, because some cards will have your fund, because some funds will have low limits. So for example, one fund may give you $200 that you get back at 65 or 85% of the consult cost. Now that may mean you can use up that full limit within 4 or 5 sessions. Compared to another one that may give you $500 or $600, but you only get $20 back per session. So you've got to look how you use it. If you think you only go 4 or 5 times a year, you'll get really good value for money because you won't pay a big gap, but you'll use it all very quickly. If you know you're a person that goes regularly, that needs help, that has a chronic problem that needs to be treated regularly, you may be better off going with the higher limit, but getting a little bit back each time. You're still going to spend more overall, but you're going to get your full value out of that fund if you are using it a lot. Have a look, because they all increase their premiums. And I mean, it is interesting that all the premiums go up a lot quicker than the rebates you get back for all the services, which I always find interesting because Obviously every 12 months or so, most prices go up in everything. So the insurance premiums go up significantly above indexed pricing. And then, our physio prices will often go up every 12 months or so as well, along with doctors and most other professionals. But it is interesting that your premiums, I can almost guarantee, will go up a lot higher in percentage amounts than what our prices go up. So, and your rebates back to you will probably not go up at all. So have a look at that and see what you're getting back compared to what your premium increases are. The other thing that a lot of people aren't aware of is confidentiality. So one of the agreements that we as providers have to agree to, and that you agree to as part of taking on your insurance with that company, is that when you sign those little forms to say you're claiming back that money, you are allowing the health insurance company to request your information from us as providers. Now, legally, we can't say no to those insurance funds, because part of your agreement with them is you give them permission to request your private medical information. So on request, we must divulge our notes to the insurer. And generally speaking, they tell us that we're not allowed to notify you that we are doing that. So please bear that in mind. It's something that our hands are tied as providers a little bit. And it's generally not another medical professional or a health professional that is reviewing your notes. It's usually an admin person within an insurance company. So it is something to bear in mind as an against for the insurance. For those people that are conscious about their confidentiality and their privacy. As I said, there was some stories recently where one of the insurance funds even was declining covering surgeries based on injuries being pre-existing. However, when there was a review done, it turned out that instead of there being a medical professional doing those reviews, it was actually an administration person who had no health experience whatsoever. So that's an against for them. Other things to look at, check out your excess. It's always hard to tell because it will vary between doctors, and the government is working really hard to have some transparency come through with an online website and that to show what different specialists charge and that. But a lot of the health funds can have different excesses. So even if you've got private health insurance, if you go have a surgery, odds are you may pay a small gap or a slightly larger gap depending on the specialist you're with. And sometimes, look, I believe that is worth it. If you have a specialist that you think is brilliant at what they do, Charlie Teo, for example, has been in the news for charging gaps and that. But I think if you've got a brilliant specialist that knows what they're doing and you want that specialist, it's worth it. It's your health. Other things to look at is remember that generally speaking, if it's a pre-existing injury, so if you go in to sign up to a health fund with a knee injury, it's not covered for surgery for 12 months. Same thing goes if we've had people say, oh, can I increase my health fund level so I can get custom orthotic type? Yes, you can. But check what extra premium you're paying, because it may not be worth it because you still have to wait 12 months before you can claim that back. So those are my 4 against. Overall, look, I would, as a health professional and as a private person, I would still recommend that if you have the funding and the ability, take out some level of private health insurance, because I do believe it is worthwhile. I would recommend, generally speaking, and a lot of the statistics show you do get the members of members-owned funds, sort of like the credit unions of health funds. And I'm not recommending these particularly, but just off the top of my head. So if you think Teachers Health Fund, HCF, HBF, West Fund, Cessnock Hospital District Fund for the local people, these are all not-for-profit members-owned funds. So generally speaking, you do find that the members' funds return more back to their members because their imperative isn't to make a profit for their shareholders, like most of the other publicly listed companies that are health funds are. Their goal is to do as best as they can for their members. They're still going to have to make profit each year because they have to keep that reserve in the pot, basically for when they need to pay for surgeries and that for people. But you will often get a better deal with a members-owned fund. So there is actually even some comparison sites out there that rank only members-owned funds. And the other place to have a look at is if you Google the government comparison site. The government has, It's a little bit complicated, but it does have a comparison site that compares every single health fund basically, and you can put in all your details of that and have a look in there. So really shop around, look for what you need for you and your family, and base that against what you are. And keep in mind, as I said, the fact of what you need it for, what your excesses are going to be, what it doesn't cover, and what you give up in terms of privacy and confidentiality in order to be insured by that person, and if you feel confident with that. If you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call or ask one of your physios next time. But as I said, we're not experts in insurance, so I would say definitely have a chat with some of the comparison sites, but have a look on the government website. It's got everything in there, and it really gives you a broader term that you can then start to whittle down where you want to look for. So thanks, I hope that helps out, and have a great day.